Hi, Rosemary.
Hi, Cheryl.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
The sun is shining here in North Carolina. I'm so excited. I think it's about 73 degrees. So when the sun comes up, I just love it. So I'm doing great.
That's awesome. The weather's like that here too, actually, in
Oh,
Boston.
oh,
It's sunny
wow.
and it's going to be in the 70s today. Yep.
Oh gosh, we have two beautiful days.
Yeah.
Yes. So hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So me and Rosemary Brokel, we're here today to talk about the emotional world that we told you guys that we were going to talk about. Also, Sunday Rose was in the comment section. So Sunday, I know you're waiting, and so we're here to discuss some of those things. One thing that I noticed is that a lot of times our inner world really is a place where I don't think we really spend a good amount of time trying to understand it. I know one of the things that I took away from Rosemary and I talking and getting to know each other. One thing that I really needed in my life the most was to pay attention to my emotions and my feelings and my intuition and all those things. And so today we're going to be talking about that. And I want you guys to learn how to do it too. So, Rosemary, when your inner world is causing you distress, how or what do you do? How do you attend to it? What are
So
the
I
signs?
think I think the most important thing to recognize first and foremost is that, we spend a lot of time kind of feeling like, what am I supposed to do with these emotions? Like, how do I get rid of them? How do I stop feeling the way I'm feeling? I don't like this. And the most important thing to remember is that your emotions are your greatest asset. They are the power center for you. They
Mm,
are giving you constant feedback about the world around you and how it meshes with your inner world. So it's your emotions are green lights and red lights to what you're experiencing. They're telling you what's okay with you and what's not okay with you on all different levels. And the more we can work with that and
mhm,
learn our own, because it's not exactly the same for everyone, learn the
mhm.
language of your own emotions and your own inner world rather than trying to get rid of things, stop things, escape things. We do a lot of that. Like, oh, if you're
Apron.
feeling
Mm,
emotional, go for a walk, like, go call a friend, go, take a nap, do anything to get away from them. We have grown up in
mhm,
a world that is what I call emotion phobic. And this is the biggest problem because we're constantly trying to get away from them.
mhm,
That if we slow down and start to think of them as, oh, this is a language that my inner being is speaking to me with. Let me learn how to decipher that, speak that language, hear what it's telling me. And now you're in the driver's seat and you have all the power, even and especially with the quote negative emotions, because
mhm.
they're telling you this is not okay with me, or I want more, or I'm not happy with whatever it is, it's there for a reason and it's trying to tell you something. And if we listen instead of ignore, shove, push, we can get answers to the questions we have about life, about how to get where we want to get, about what work we need to do on ourselves, what parts of us are calling for us to do work on them and get in better alignment with possibilities and
Mhm.
desires and all of those things.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I remember a while back thinking, how do I pay attention to my emotions? Like I was numb. I was numb. And I think a lot of people are that. I think a lot of people think, well, it's not that serious. I'll just push it down. and I'll just be on autopilot, and I'll just go, and I'll just do, and I'll just live, and but I had to figure out, like, no, that wasn't okay with me, that I was feeling a lot, and I had lots of emotions, but I didn't know how to attend to it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And I think that's what we all do. That's what I used to do as well, is you push it down and you think you're getting rid of it by pushing it down, but all you're
Right.
doing is holding it in yourself. And then you're still functioning from that every day. Even if you feel better for a short period of time, as soon as
Mhm.
anything happens in your life that triggers whatever it is that you're pushing down, it all
Mhm.
comes spilling back out anyway. And this is why it can turn into, oh, I thought I was doing better. Oh, I thought I already worked on that. Why is this popping up again? Where is this coming from? Because it hasn't been resolved. Emotions, I like to think of them like helium. If you give them space instead of shoving them down, they come up and they release. That's what they naturally do. But if we're
Mhm.
shoving them down and trying to get rid of them, we're actually holding them and keeping them.
Mm. Mm. How do you get rid of them, or how do you resolve it?
So I often say, when something feels uncomfortable, I don't release it. I engage it, and then it releases me.
Okay.
So there are multiple steps, but the first step, that is usually the absolute most challenging thing for people, is to be with your emotions. Learn to even hear what they even are. It's especially in our culture now, we
Mhm.
often, anxiety is a word that's constantly thrown around. Oh, I have
Yeah.
anxiety. Oh, I have anxiety. And using anxiety to as a descriptive word for your emotions, it's not actually an emotion, it's a symptom of your emotion. You're experiencing anxiety because there are probably several, most often several, emotions that you're feeling that you're not acknowledging, that you are, so they're all balled up in a knot, and that becomes anxiety. So the
Anxiety.
first step is, like, can you even name your emotions? You know, go through your day and recognize how many times you try to avoid emotions, and how do you do it? Do you shop? Do you eat? Do you have sex? Do you go for a walk? Do you grab
Mhm.
wine? Do you run to the gym? Like, what things do you do? Some of them might be positive, some of them
Yeah.
might not so positive.
And so these are all the things that we do to stay away from our emotions, or our feelings, or how we feel. It's amazing that we don't stop and say, no, I'm feeling some type of way. I need to get by myself. I need to sit in a quiet room. I need to focus on me. And that's how we attend to our inner world. But the thing is, nobody really tells you that. What they say, pray, right? And I look at that as like speaking outward again to your higher being. But to sit with your own feelings is really tending to you. You know what I mean? And that made the difference in my life so much. God Almighty. I didn't have to call anybody, you know, after you and I finished all of our sessions.
Yes.
Once it was done, once you taught me how, it's been the best jewel. It's like
It's about parenting yourself, right? It's like
it is.
sitting with yourself, with your emotions, and not trying to figure out how to get rid of them. It's self-love, and it's healthy parenting.
It is. It is. And a lot of us need, you know, people need to be reparented. I remember um, saying to myself in at that time, oh wow, I'm reparenting myself. I'm creating different new codes and
Yes.
patterns, new
Yes. Yep.
codes and patterns, and then that turns into behaviors. And
Yes.
now, like, I'm flexing now because I built up those muscles in that way, emotional muscles. And so here in the sector, that I'm in. I notice because we watch content, and I see this all the time in my real life as well, my work life and my personal life. You see it all over the place. It's almost like once like a doctor, looking at people and they having certain symptoms and they want to diagnose, it's almost like, ooh, they need some attention in their inner world. And yeah. So can
I
you?
really think that it changes the world when we learn how to do that, because when we learn how to do that for ourselves, we can hold that space for other people. You can't really hold space for someone else if you haven't practiced holding space for yourself. And I don't know if you remember, Cheryl, but every time, this is the very first thing that I work on when I work with people privately, and it creates like panic. Like, we have been so trained that our emotions are bad and to stay away from them. And we don't have the skill to know what to do with them, that when we actually stop and create space for them and try to name them, that the nervous system and the whole body goes into like a panic mode. Like, it thinks it's a trauma and it needs to run. Like, this is not safe. Like, I'm gonna die if I feel my own feelings. But it's a real physiological experience when you first start doing it. But the more you do it and the more you go into that space and the more you hold space for yourself and you learn, oh, this is a message, and you start to decipher those messages, you're literally retraining your nervous system, your psyche, your emotional body, that this is actually, not only is this safe, but I can find answers and healing in this space.
Yes, I remember. I remember very well. I remember the anxiety and the panic, and also the fear, you know, because when you're going that deep and into your inner world, you're almost like, oh my God, what will I discover about myself? So it's sort of kind of scary. And so yeah, I remember all of those things, but I was so, I don't know, I'm just that type of girl where, I'll go through it. Whatever it is to get to the other side, I'm willing to do that. And so I fought in my own inner world, because I'm like, oh my God. It was almost like, I say, like it was past the muscle, the skin, the muscle, all the way down into the marrow of the person. It was just all the way just in there. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it
Mhm.
takes courage in
It
the
does.
beginning. But
Mhm.
and we had talked about this in the last video, once you start to create a comfort zone in there,
Mhm.
it's not scary, even though, I mean, working on stuff, having to
Mental.
work on stuff,
Mhm.
it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it's challenging and
Yeah.
it's scary and all of that. But once you create that comfort zone within that, it's also in tandem with that is, it's not fun, but it's empowering. It's like, ooh,
It is.
there's something there. Let me
Mhm.
sit and see what this is, because this is going
Yeah.
to give me a nugget of what my desires are, what I
Yeah.
want for my life, what's okay with me, what's not okay with me, and what needs to be worked on. Like, all of that is
Mhm.
housed in there. So it becomes almost like a treasure hunt. Like, oh,
It
let
does.
me go through this and find it.
Yeah. And I say the way that I verbalize it is I'm exploring the regions of my own soul, the rhythms, the regions, all of that. It's almost like I see, like, I don't know, a big mass of land, and it's got hills and valleys and all the crooks and the turns. Let me explore my own soul and the power, the peace, the self-confidence, the rest, the love, all those things. It starts to like flow, like how I feel it right now. It's just a beautiful, like, okay, it's safe. I can do this.
Yes. And it
This is
is
my place.
beautiful. And it does bring, like, that's your soul, right?
Yeah.
That's your core, that's your depth. If we really think about it, when we have relationships with other people, whether romantic or platonic, that's the space we want to be seen in, right? That's the space we want to share with
Mm-hmm.
other people. That's the space we want to be accepted and loved and nurtured. We actually do want that, even though we've been trained to deny it and push it away and ignore it and avoid it. And when we learn to have that with ourselves, that's when we put ourselves in a position to have that with somebody else, whether it's platonic or romantic. We open that door for like, oh, I'm okay with this space. And that sends out like a beacon, like a signal to invite in other people who are also comfortable and can be trusted and feel safe within that space with you.
Yes. And now I'm trying to, what is that word? I'm testing it out. Like, for example, I had a client the other day who had, she has a daughter and she's 9 years old. And she's sitting over at the dryer and she's noticing how the 9-year-old is talking to me and I'm talking to her. And then I saw the parent, I saw the mother, she had a little, like a smirk on her face. And then she said, wow, she said, she talks to you. And I look at her because I don't know, you know what I mean? She said, she doesn't talk to me like that. She's comfortable with you, she said. And then the daughter says, yeah, she says, I like her. And then I told her, the little girl, 9 years old, she said, I like her. And we were just talking. And then all of a sudden, things opened up, me and the child in that open space. It opened it up for the mother. And then she said to me, growing up, I think she's 43, she wasn't allowed to say out loud what she liked, what she didn't like. Was everything okay with her or how she felt? She wasn't allowed to speak it. She wasn't allowed to be open with another person. And she told me, she said, I want to find myself again. And I said, well, you got a good start because you're sitting here with me. So, but it was that energy.
Yes.
It was that energy. And I feel that openness and that I sort of had it long time ago, like before, but now it's not the same. It's totally different now. It's like clean water. It's like clean water.
And I love that you brought up kids, because I don't actually have any kids, but I have multiple friends over the years who have called me the kid whisperer. And it is because kids, when we're born, we're naturally in that space. We don't look at kids. They don't think there's anything wrong with their emotions. They'll run around and scream and cry or laugh hysterically. Like they don't have, it's not natural for us to shove that stuff down, any of it, whether it's emotions or desire or anything in that space. So when you are, and again, it gets trained out of us. Again, this is an awakening. This is a generational thing. This is an evolution of the human species to begin to connect with those parts of ourselves again as adults. And since children come in and they're just pure spirits who are okay with all of it, when as adults we are able to hold space for children and meet them in that space, it is pure magic. I invite anyone in your audience to really practice going there with themselves, practice feeling into those spaces, holding space, not criticizing yourself for whatever you're feeling, really just creating a safe container for whatever it is you're feeling and experiencing, and looking at it as that language that's trying to tell you something. And as you practice it with yourself, to bring that into whatever children you come in contact with, whether it's your own or relatives, or, and see how they respond. It is, they open up and light up, and it is absolutely, it is beautiful and precious. Like, and that's how we are. We have that inner child. And when we're invited to open up in those ways, this softness, it's just, there's really no words. You have to go have the experience, but it is absolutely
Yeah,
incredible. It is our natural state to meet ourselves and meet other people in that place.
yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And yeah, I love it. And I want to be able to, well, I do it anyway, but to share that, specifically that thing, the clean water, the no judgment, the beautiful place to explore the rhythms and regions of your soul. I'm looking out the door because those are trees. My whole backyard is a forest, and I see the forest
Wow.
out there. But to be able to do that and to work through the emotions and feel them and it be okay. Like in the shadow, we talked about the shadow before. Can we talk about the shadow some now?
Yes, yes, we should,
Okay,
because I don't want to mislead people.
okay,
There is work to be done in addition to, you can't fix everything just by feeling your feelings, because
yeah,
sometimes you find stuff in there in the shadow, like, oh my God, okay, well now I know this is there. What do I do with it?
right,
And
right,
that's the deeper shadow work. It begins with opening up and feeling into your space. And usually that's the biggest horror for most people, because all of a sudden you stop and you start naming things. And it's like, well, I'm afraid of this and I feel insecure about this. And I'm not comfortable with this and I'm not happy with this. And I want this out of life, but I'm afraid I can't get it. Like all of these emotions and feelings. And then it's like, well, how do I get it? Or what if you're someone who, you know, okay, you realize like I'm sad all the time, or I'm unhappy. Like, so what do you do with that? Because just feeling it, it will soften it. It will not feel so harsh when you start to give it attention. But then it's about working through, well, what are those things? And sometimes it's something from your childhood that's been
yeah,
programmed in there that needs to be shifted. And sometimes it's your beliefs about the world or beliefs about yourself. Sometimes it's just patterns of negative thinking and the way we look at the world, and usually it's some combination of all of that. And then
yes,
it's about, that's the shadow work, that's the stuff that's in there that's blocking the light. We can think of the shadow as it's blocking the light. We're all naturally light, we're happy, we feel good, we feel safe, we want to share. Again, think about
mhm,
children.
yeah.
And so the shadow is what's blocking that. So
And
when
the
you start to
shadow
feel, go ahead.
is the shadow experiences. Is it mostly experiences or is it mostly what you feel about the experience?
I would like, I think of it as it's anything that is blocking the light.
Okay.
So it could be emotion, it could be
Mhm.
experience, it could be
Okay.
patterns
Common.
of thought.
Okay. All of those things.
Yeah.
What about a past memory of pain and just something really bad that would make anybody afraid? Say, for instance, we'll use Michael Jackson, for instance.
Okay.
I really, since I've done shadow work and traumas and triggers, done all of the work with you, Michael Jackson just stays on my mind because of his childhood was so bad. What about somebody like Michael Jackson who experienced all of the abuse at the hand of his dad?
I experienced a lot of abuse as well, multiple perpetrators. And again, those experiences get lodged into the subconscious mind.
Okay.
When we're growing up, our psyche, our nervous system, they're trying to navigate this world that we live in and trying to
Mhm.
sort of learn the rules. And it starts pulling in data from what we're experiencing and creating a rule book that we're living by.
Oh,
And
wow.
so sometimes those rules sound like relationships are not safe. I
Mm.
can't trust other people. These types of rules. And, or, you know, you can only make money if you have a 9 to 5 job and you work 60, 70 hours a week. And you know what I mean? Like
Uh-huh.
you have all these rules attached to everything from relationship to health to finances to all of that. And those get programmed in there. And so whatever you experienced, myself, Michael Jackson, you,
You. Mm-hmm.
put especially those bigger traumatic events, those
Mm-hmm.
like instantaneously put rules in there.
Wow.
This is safe, this isn't safe. I can, like, one that I like to give an example of that I can really speak from my own inner experience on
Okay.
is when you're abused, you're just a child, and there is an
Mm-hmm.
inner part of you that's saying, this isn't good. I don't like this. This isn't supposed to be happening. But the
Mm-hmm.
adults on the outside who you and your psyche see as authority, so they have more power over programming your psyche, are
Uh-huh.
acting like it's normal, it's acceptable in some cases, that it's supposed to be fun. And so we disconnect from trusting that space within ourselves, because it's like, well, I don't feel like this is good, but the adult authority, and they're not thinking about this consciously. This is just the inner experience. Children don't have the ability to think at this level yet.
Right, right.
But the person on the outside is saying it's supposed to be good, and then we don't know who or what to trust. This is how codependency can
Yes.
form.
Yeah.
So we have to do deeper work where we go into, again, it starts with feeling what you're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what that is, feeling into, because beliefs, so emotions are happy, sad, angry.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings are very closely related with beliefs. Relationships aren't safe. No one will ever treat me good. I'm not worthy of receiving love. The world is unsafe. These are feelings. You can feel
Mm-hmm.
them in your physical body, but they're
Body.
also
Mm-hmm.
beliefs. So when you start feeling into your inner space, you start to
Mm-hmm.
uncover these things and realize, oh, I feel like this and I feel like that and I believe this. And those often go back to childhood experiences. There's different ways of
Mm.
dealing with that and
Yeah.
working through those things. Sometimes you work through a specific memory. Sometimes you work through a specific feeling or
Feeling.
experience that you're having. And it depends on what's going on to when you know, like, oh, which avenue do I need to go down with this?
Okay. Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure our viewers are like, oh my God, just taking notes. You guys take notes. You guys take notes because this is this information is life changing. It really is. So, can a person change all of that?
Oh
Can
my
you
God.
really
Go ahead.
can they change it? Can it be
Absolutely. Yes. I had a lot of severe sexual abuse, emotional neglect, psychological abuse and manipulation. And I I was dealing with that in a multitude of ways in when I was younger and in my teens. And then I thought I sort of landed in an okay place, but then
Mhm.
later in life, in my early 30s, it hit me like a ton of bricks and I wound up with PTSD. Like everything came, one of my abusers passed away, and it was all repressed and stuff started coming out, and I wound up with PTSD. I could not function. I could not go to the grocery store without having a panic attack. I was in
Wow.
extreme case, and I've come completely out the other side. Um I have confidence like I've never had before. I recently got engaged to literally not even the most amazing man, the most amazing person I've ever met, who can hold space for me and is not afraid of those things, and
Oh,
is
wow.
is loving and caring and nurturing and all the things that I didn't get in my childhood. And it's because I worked through my own stuff to get myself to a place where I matched that. You know, if you're functioning from a place of no one wants to hear about my emotions, no one cares about me, these things that we're talking that are attached, when you
Mm-hmm,
clear
mm-hmm.
those, when you're carrying those things, you're not even if someone is capable of holding space for you, you're not even recognizing it because you're wrapped up in your own stuff. But
Yes.
when you clear it and you work through these things, you absolutely can come out the other side. Like I said, I was a very extreme case, and I've come
Case.
out the other side. And that's not to
Mhm.
say I don't still work on things, I do, but
Yeah,
my
of
life is
course.
not blowing up around me. I don't wake up in tears, anxiety, miserable all the time. Like that's not, you know, you again, the shadow blocks
Mm-hmm.
the light in every way. And when you start to shrink that shadow down, we're never going to get rid of it. There are things that are healthy about having a shadow, but when it's shifted enough that it's not blocking the light and there's balance there, it doesn't just open the light for feeling good inside yourself. It opens the light in every aspect of your life.
So why can you skip over not dealing with the shadow and create the life you want? Or do you have to deal with the shadow?
Everyone has to I'd like to use the word integrate because I don't want to, there's not a part of you that you want to like cut off and get rid of. You want to integrate these aspects of yourself. We have all learned, we've become who we are. Even the most challenging things in our lives, like childhood abuse and
Mm-hmm.
PTSD, they help to form really awesome things in you, strength and independence, they definitely make what you do want more clear. Nothing makes what you do want and your
Right,
desires more clear than not having what you want.
right. Exactly.
So it brings
That's
all
why
of this.
that's how I'm here right now. Okay, because I really figured out what I don't want.
Right, right, exactly. And when you
Yeah.
know what you don't want, you know what you do want, and
Mhm.
then now you have some clarity. But
Yes.
in to answer your question, yes, everyone
Yeah.
has that. Like even if you look at, you know, Bill Gates, he's got all this money, but you don't know what his relationships are like. Like everyone has their sort of trigger subject in their life that is inviting them to the
Mm-hmm.
stage of doing this kind of work. And you don't have to have had severe abuse like I had. You could
Mm-hmm.
have had what looks like a normal childhood to, you know, a certain degree. But if your parents weren't able to sit in their emotions and understand their emotions, then they couldn't have passed that along to you. And like again, it's human evolution. We're evolving as a species. We are evolving and we are getting to know ourselves better and have a better relationship. Like everything that's happening in the world,
Mm-hmm.
wars and famine and all of this stuff, it's an outer expression of the turmoil that we energetically feel on the inside.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
That is profound. I was literally thinking that yesterday. I'm just like, all of this stuff is happening because we don't understand how to do this work that you and I are talking about. How to heal your inner world, how to integrate the shadow with the light and all of these things. Like we're projecting all over the place. We're
Yes.
afraid of everything and causing all of these scary, horrific things to happen. I was even thinking about Hitler. I was like, you know what? I don't know. I just been thinking a lot. I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I know that things are getting better. I do know that.
Absolutely. And we can
Mm-hmm.
flip it in our minds too and think about it from well, the stuff that's going on in the world is an invitation. It's us collectively asking for the wake up call. We want to awaken. We want to get in touch with our deeper selves. We want these things, whether we realize it or not.
Or
For
not.
some of us, it's conscious. For some of us, it's
It's
not.
not. Yeah.
But and in there's like the inner world for each of us as an individual, and then that is creating, projecting, affecting energetically everything that's going on in our personal experience
Mhm.
in all areas of life. And then there is the collective energy
Mm-hmm.
that is creating what's happening on the collective stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is this back and forth. Like, it's not about blaming ourselves. Oh, well, then it's my fault, you know, that people are starving and wars are happening. It's not that. It's this give and take, this back and forth. This is another language that's happening between us and our lives, and us and the world, and us and each other. And
Mm-hmm.
you know how we decipher that language is up to us. I like to think of it as if I see something in the news or something that's going on that I don't like or that I
Mm-hmm.
find upsetting, I look at it and then self-reflect on what is, again, back to the feelings. What is this making me feel? What are my desires? Like, what do I want in the world? It's much better to go through life pointed toward your desires than trying to
Mm-hmm.
beat things away. And again, we're not talking about ignoring or
Right.
stuffing or spiritually bypassing or any of that stuff. But if you look at what's going on in the world, or something that upsets you in your personal life or on the world stage,
Mm-hmm.
it triggers things. So if you can go into that emotional space into your inner world and say, what is this trigger? What is this emotional response that I'm having
Mm-hmm.
here to tell me? Is it to tell me that I want peace? Is it to motivate me for something that I want to do in life? Is it triggering that I don't feel safe? You know, so much
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I don't want to get too far into this or politics, because it's
Yeah.
just, it's very triggering. But things with COVID and there was so much fear on both sides that was being triggered, that it was a doorway into, where are you not feeling safe? How are you not feeling safe? And that may not make nobody get COVID, but it's still an invitation that on some level you're asking for, of, I don't feel safe in the world and I don't like feeling this way. And now there's an invitation of, why am I feeling unsafe? Where is it coming from? What do I need? What do I need personally and individually? How can I address this so that I'm not living from a place where external things have control of my internal world?
Okay. That's profound. Where external things have control of my internal world. Wow. And we can't let that happen. We can't let that happen. Yeah. So, because we can't walk around in chaos and fear all the time, because these people are making these decisions, you know. So it's just awesome.
And even if, you know, you need to address something like COVID or a COVID equivalent in your life or your relationship or whatever, if you're not dealing with an old feeling that got triggered
Mm-hmm.
of, I'm not safe in the world,
Mm-hmm.
if that's not getting triggered, then you're just in a clearer head to deal with whatever's, now you can see whatever's in front of you and address whatever's in front of you from a clearer, more grounded, more confident place, because you don't have some ancient inner child, some emotion that's been trapped in you since you were, say, 4 years old, that is at the mentality of a 4-year-old, being triggered that you're not safe and sending up all these panic signals. Nobody can function from that place and make decisions from that place. But if
So
when you clear that out, go ahead.
are you saying that we can have the voice of a 4-year-old that's running our 52-year-old life?
100%, that's what it is. Because what happens is these things are getting lodged in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind does not understand here and there and now and then. It only understands a program that's running right now. So if the program was an emotional and mental state of a 4-year-old that got programmed in there, when it plays back, it's the mental and emotional space of a 4-year-old.
40 something years later.
Yes. This is, so to give you a personal connection to this, when we do matrix re-imprinting, for those who don't know, this is a technique where you go back into your psyche and you address the inner child at the time that they experienced, and you speak to them, and that part of your psyche is speaking to you, and you're speaking to it at the age appropriate level, because your psyche is stuck at that level. So yes, maybe when you have a fight with your spouse or a disagreement with your spouse and you get triggered, you're no longer speaking to your spouse from a 40, 30, 40, 50-year-old person. Now your inner child is having that relationship and that argument. And usually so is theirs. So now you've got two 4-year-olds arguing.
How are you going to say my inner child is speaking for me when I've gone to school and I got 3 or 4 or 5 degrees, ma'am? Are you serious?
Serious. That's because the subconscious mind doesn't, your conscious mind, and it, again, if you go into that inner world, into that feeling space, you can actually feel it. And the more you go in there, the more you can feel like this isn't me. Like you can your conscious mind is like, well, of course I know I can have good relationships, and or I know this person loves me, or I see people having good relationships. I know it's the conscious mind knows all this. This is why there's major friction inside, because you're like, what the F? I can and should have all these things that I want. I know that it's possible and this and that, but then there's that background, guilty conscience, icky feeling that comes in and says, well, can I really? And I don't know if I deserve it. And all the good ones are taken. And
or it's too late. It's too late. You're old. All those kinds of things. You're not beautiful enough. Yeah. All those things.
All BS, because your soul is eternal and doesn't have an age.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So you guys who are listening, did you hear that? Your soul is eternal. It doesn't have an age, and you deserve to be loved, and you are still beautiful, and these wonderful things can still happen to you. But you got to realize that that inner child is only 5 or 6 years old, could be like 10 years old, and don't listen to it, because I have a brain, right? I live in this body and I have a brain, but I is apart from those two things, but in those two things at the same time.
Or even listen to it and ask it what it needs.
What do you mean?
Oh, well, hi, inner child. You're stamping your feet in the corner and crying that no one likes you. What can I do for you?
Oh.
What do you need? Just that is so powerful.
Oh, yeah. I just felt the clean water again.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you need? Oh my goodness. Do you need that trip down to the beach, or do you need some ice cream? Like, what do you need?
Do you need love and acceptance? You need safety? You need a hug?
Hug. What do you need? The inner world. Guys, that's what we're all about over here.
It's a beautiful place.
It is. Introspection, inner world. Yeah. That is beautiful. Don't y'all, we love Rosemary Broco, okay? Put it down in the comment section. Thumbs up.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Simply profound. What do you need? I think, how long have we're going to end this session on that, because what you guys need to do is take some deep breaths, because I feel airy and clean water, and this was just beautiful, Rosemary.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
It was just beautiful. What do you need? You can literally ask yourself, what do you need? Yeah. Well, anyway, y'all guys, kisses and hugs. That's what I always say, Rosemary, at the end of the session. Sometimes I say it
Okay.
at the beginning of the session. And, um, and so, yeah, that is powerful. What do you need? All right, guys, we're going to see you the next time. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and certainly tell a friend. Just tell a friend. Rosemary Broco, Cheryl Grabowski are on YouTube, and we are having candid conversations about our inner world. We're very much into introspection and increasing the quality of your life by attending to your inner child and just all of that inner world stuff to be able to manifest and to create the life that you want in spite of everything that has gone wrong, or if anything has gone wrong. Maybe you just want to broaden yourself. Maybe you want to learn more of what we're talking about so you can help somebody else. But whatever it is that you want, we're glad to have you guys here, and we'll see you the next time.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
You're welcome. See you the next time. Bye.